Hi, you want to tell me who you are?
Hi, I'm David Parker.
Yes, and have you lived here in Milwaukee for quite a while?
I moved to Milwaukee in fall of 1974.
Ah, okay. And then you've lived here and lived in the same area the whole time?
Well, there was about a year and a half that I transferred down to Sacramento for work. But from the time I came here, I lived over on River Road, right there by those apartments at the top of the hill. And now I live by Ardenwald, and I've lived on Sherry Lane. And basically, I've been within about a 2-mile stretch of this ever since then.
Ever since then. And what brought you here to Milwaukee?
Well, I was going to college down in Eugene at a local community college down there, and that was back in the days of people coming home from Vietnam. So it was a great party town. So my grades weren't so good down there, and I spent the summer after my freshman year up at Crater Lake, working at Crater Lake, and I worked for a cook up there. And when I went back to Springfield, there was no jobs back then. And I called the guy up and he says, yeah, I got a place for you to work up here. And so at that time, there's a restaurant named Libby's, and it used to be called Speed's. And I worked for Old Speed until he fired me.
Until he fired you? Why did he fire you?
I don't know. Speed's has both a restaurant and a bar. He took a lot of interest in the bar, and I think sometimes he sampled some of his goods. And so the night he sent me packing, he had been in the bar for a while.
Ah, yes. And you didn't contest it. Oh, that was not a time that people did much contesting.
It's been a long time. I'm not sure I didn't deserve it. I just don't remember.
So what have you been doing since your time that you talk about work, and you worked down in Sacramento and worked here?
What did I do for work?
Yeah.
Okay, so after I left Speed's, I was a cook out in Wilsonville. And while I was there, I ran into a guy that was working for a local produce outfit, and they were looking for, workers. And being a cook is no fun. And so I went to work for a place called Garden Products, which is actually right here in Milwaukee. It's now where the Goodwill is, there on Ochiko Street. And that warehouse was a combination of the produce house and the Fred Meyer frozen goods, back when Fred Meyer was all spread out all over the town. And I learned to drive a truck there, and I worked there for a couple of years, and then I worked for another trucking company. Then I went back to college and actually went to college. And then I was in international air freight, and I traveled all over the world, and I finally retired in 2016.
So you're able to travel, but each time coming back here too.
I always lived I lived here except for that short time in Sacramento.
Quite a difference in Sacramento and here, especially in the summer.
Yeah, I was really happy to get back home.
Oh, absolutely.
I forced my issue down there so I could come back here.
All right. Did you have family here? Did you raise family here?
I did. My wife is actually born and raised in Corvallis, like third generation from the Oklahoma, Texas area, and met her down in Springfield area. But I had two sons, both born and raised here in the Milwaukee area. Went to Ardenwald, went to actually Michael did the last year of Milwaukee Junior High, and then they both went to Rao to finish there, and then they both went to Milwaukee High School. They both played soccer big time. Mike is like second or third all-time scoring, and Jake's like sixth. So they had good careers there, and then they both played at Oregon State.
Excellent. So do they still both live in this area?
Mike does. Mike lives off of about 56th and so on Monroe. And then Jake just lives across the border over in the Foster Street area.
All right. So raising a family, did you feel like that you were, there was good schooling, good...
The reason, I say I was here the whole time. kind of not exactly true. So I lived for 15 years over in Arrow Heights, the Darlington area, which is just on the other side of the border.
Right.
But we did all of our shopping and everything here, King Road, when the old King Road Thriftway was there, we used to use that. And so we were here, and when Mike was getting ready to go to school, he would have gone to that little elementary that's up on the top of 45th, and we didn't think it was as good, and so that's when we moved to Ardenwald, and so we've been in that same house now for 26 years, something like that.
Nice. Nice.
Great place to raise kids.
It is a great place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a niece and a nephew that are being raised here.
Yeah.
It's always nice to see that. Involvement in the community. What are you doing? You're retired now, is that correct?
I am retired now. I actually have a long history of, I did about 16 years coaching soccer at Milwaukie High School. And then I've coached a bunch at the rec level, trying to get kids ready for the high school. So altogether, I probably coached in Milwaukie for about 25 years. And I've coached my whole life, about 40 years altogether.
Nice.
And right now, I'm retired. I do a lot of walking, spend time just being active. And then I do some volunteer for Clackamas Service Center, and I deliver groceries to people that need food.
And the Milwaukee Historical Society.
And I do spend some time with the Milwaukee Historical Society.
And what unique role do you play with the Milwaukee Historical Society? What's one of your favorite things to do?
Well, like everything else, COVID has taken a little bit of a hit on this, but what I got interested in doing, working with this society, was doing research on property. So you would take somebody's address, and then you'd go through up at Oregon City at the records. Some of it's on computers, but most of it's on microfiche, and you would just find a name, and then you'd see, and you follow that. And I've done some properties here for some projects where I've taken from the current owner and followed the piece of property all the way back to the original person that had the DLC.
So originally you got involved in that when the house tours, is that correct? The home tour here?
That was kind of how that started. I met Greg Hemmer, and there were some people that were nice enough to let us use their house as architectural studies type stuff. And so in repayment for them, I went and did the research on their property and presented them with a booklet that covered all the deeds from the time back in the Lot Whitcomb days.
Nice. And you're now doing it as part of your volunteer work with the museum, is that
right? I've been fortunate enough that we've added somebody that's actually much better at it than me. And so I'm a good second banana, and I fill that role very nicely.
Oh, nice. I'm sorry, who was the...
Steve Bennett.
Oh, okay.
That guy's awesome.
Oh, is he? All right, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Other questions, Peter?
So you've lived here since 1974. You've probably seen quite a bit of change. What would you say has been the major theme of change in Milwaukie?
Well, I think like everybody else, the downtown has changed so much. I mean, we need more downtown. Need places. You see some of our competition as far as some of the small towns around us, and some of the stuff they've done with their downtown, where there's places to go eat, there's places to meet up, stuff like that. We're fortunate to have places like Cha-Cha-Cha's, Decibels, and people like that where we can go. She's one of my best friends, so no. So it's nice to have them, but it would be nice to have more variety.
Right. And certainly, from my perspective, other reasons to go downtown. You know, it seems like
Uh-huh.
when the bakery probably closed, that was a big deal.
Right.
Yeah. Hardware store, we use a hardware store.
So you've also seen the schools kind of change over hand. You've seen a remodel at Ardenwald, which your kids used to go there,
Well, that was a complete tear down and rebuild.
right? Milwaukie High School, kind of the same thing.
Right.
And since you coached at Milwaukie High School, and you've seen it go from natural grass to actual artificial turf, you've seen a lot of change through that high school.
Well, I'll tell you something about the natural grass field at Milwaukie High School. You know, when you stand on the earth, there's a curvature, and the curvature of the earth says that the farthest you can see is 16 miles. It's not possible to see any farther than that, okay? Because of the curvature of the earth. When you stood on one side of the Milwaukie football field, you couldn't see anything below the knees of the people on the other side of the field. Because it had such a hump, and try playing soccer on top of that. I mean, it was at least a 3-foot hump in the middle of the field that gradually came up, and then it was a big sand pit in the middle, and it was horrible. And so Mike played there, and then I think it was after his sophomore year. No, that's not right. I don't remember. Anyway, I know Jake was still there when they built the field, because there was a newspaper article in the Clackamas Review of him and Jet, his buddy, and they were digging a hole for them to start doing the work to build the field.
Jet Townsend?
Yeah, Jet and Bo.
Did you used to take your kids ever down to the Festival Days parade?
No, there wasn't. I don't recall it. They were born in the early 90s. I don't recall it being around in those days.
Oh, it was.
The only thing we did is we did the bicycle. Ardenwald used to have a parade, a bicycle parade.
Well, tell us a little bit about that.
It was like in the first week or so of school, and they would have a big parade, and we'd all gather. Back in those days, the school people seemed to be a lot more engaged with the community, and so they would do stuff like that.
So this bicycle parade, I live in the Ardenwald area also. Did it just go around the area there, or did it go up off to?
It would go. Actually, it came pretty close to your house because they'd use the path to go off of Roswell,
Right.
Or off of Wake,
uh-huh.
down to Olson, and then down Olson, and then up 42nd, and the cops would kind of stop everybody, and
Sure.
all the kids would go down there.
Oh, fun. How about favorite stories as an adult here in Milwaukie?
You know, I've been pretty fortunate. I don't know a lot of people. I'm kind of I wouldn't say I'm a loner, but I just not somebody that gads about or whatever. And so, but I've been fortunate that I've met some really nice people here. I have some great neighbors that live next to me. Been really fortunate having them. And like I said, it's been a good place to raise kids and to live here.
No, ask a question. I'll write that down. That's a great.
I'm trying to think of the next questions, that's why I had that in my hands. And how about your wife, Susie? Right? Patty.
Sorry. So Patty worked at OHSU. She was up there for the OBGYN clinic. She was the office manager and in charge of billing. And she was fortunate enough to retire about 8 years ago now, something like that. And yeah, she enjoys it. We kind of do the same things. We walk every day and go around.
So, right, we've been But currently, we have been going through this pandemic for 2 years. Could you share a little bit of your feelings about how that has affected you, or what you had been planning on doing that could not happen because?
Well, we've canceled a couple of trips. We had a trip that was already paid for and organized, something like that, to go to Italy, and that was right when Italy was completely collapsing at the beginning of it. So we didn't do that, and that was one of the things. I retired. Patty and I both retired fairly early, like before we were 65, and we thought we were going to be able to do a bunch of traveling, and that's really kind of messed that up. But not to be political, I just wish the people that don't take it as serious as they could would take it a little more serious, because I think we'd have less problems now if people would take it a little more serious. Okay, I'll leave it at that.
Anything else that you would like to address, and would you like to say happy birthday to?
Yeah, no, I think this is a great project. I was when Greg and I first started talking about this, I threw my hat in the ring to help make it happen. And what I really think is going to be the best part of this is that we have people that are, we just lost Ms. Briggs, and there's more people like her that are really old that have all this history. And if it's not written down, or if it's not taken up like this, we talk about all these people coming and moving in, there'll be nothing to give them. They don't work here. They only live here. And so if we don't have something to give them, you can't expect them to embrace Milwaukie. So that's why I think it's important, and definitely wish it a happy 120th.
Thank you.